All right, hey everyone. I believe we are now live. So happy Wednesday. It's hump day basically today, and what we're going to talk about today is a couple of things. One is DMG provided some news for us. We also have Marathon getting their hash rate back up and running, which is good news there. And we'll take a look at basically the valuation of the hash rate of each miner based on their market cap. How much are they being valued for their hash rate right now? We'll provide some feedback as far as why that might be. Okay, so we have quite a bit of things to go through today. We'll try to get through it as fast as we can, but obviously this is not financial advice, for entertainment only. Please do your own research and invest in following coins and companies for full disclosure as always. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. Also, if I make a mistake, corrections will be posted to Discord, which is through Patreon membership, and then also on YouTube community posts and on Twitter. So I always want to make sure that I give you guys the most accurate data that I can. Okay, so that's kind of what we're dealing here with right now. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and the miners really quick, see what's going on there, and then we'll get into the news that we do have here. Bitcoin has been kind of trading sideways here the last couple of days. I mean, you guys can see this here on the daily chart. I mean, we've had basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 days or so where we've been kind of trading sideways. We've been battling with the 30,000 mark, or 53,000 mark, sorry, on Bitcoin. And I mean, I just don't know which way it's going to go right now. I was thinking that possibly that we might be going back up a little bit here, but we got a little bit of a low here today, at least on the chart. We went all the way down to, what was the low on here? The low was 50,628. The prior low was 50,624. So it looks like we went 28. Yeah, we went a little bit below that low here that we reached on Saturday the 17th. So I'm a little bit concerned that we might possibly go down. If we do go down, I think our next support line will be probably, if we look at the chart here, maybe right around the 49,000 mark or so. But we'll see what happens here, obviously. We do have pretty good support here right now at around the 51,000 mark or so as well. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see what happens there going forward. The miners had a bad day today, obviously Bitcoin going down, and then obviously Bitcoin's down a little bit more here on the new day. It's down another 0.93% or so. It's right now trading at 51,372. So, you know, it's all up in the air right now. We are getting close to the halving event. We're we're less than 60 days to it. Last halving cycle, Bitcoin actually went down into the halving event. Or actually in 2016, sorry, not last cycle, 2016. I saw Matt on Twitter post that. So that's kind of interesting take on that. Could we actually do the same thing again where we actually come down in price on Bitcoin? If we do, I think at that point we might be coming down to like maybe the 45,000 mark or something like that. If that does happen, hopefully not below that. But we'll have to see. Obviously, we have pretty good support here at 42,000 or so. So that might be kind of the bounce where we might get to here before we start going back up after the halving event. But we'll obviously have to keep an eye on it. Right, the miners had a pretty rough day today as well. I mean, most of them were pretty much in the single digits as far as decreases and percentage-wise. The only one that was up today for some reason was Mawson. Again, I think that with them having such a low share count, it's easy to manipulate that one. And people are still trying to manipulate that one a little bit here. But we'll see. Obviously, you can see how the miners did, and I'm sure you guys are tracking it anyway, so we're not really going to get into it here. But let's get into the news stories that we do have here, and then we'll get into the values for the hash rate for each miner based on market cap. And then we'll get into the Q&A at the end. Okay, so save your questions towards the end. All right, first thing here is obviously DMG Blockchain Solutions announces Q1 2024 financial results, release date, operational, and Bosonic investment update. I got to look up Bosonic, see what that is all about. Drawing a blank on it right now as far as why did they invest in Bosonic and why they are propping it up. But I got to look into that some more. So if you guys know that, leave me a comment down in the comments on that one. But otherwise, I have to look it up. The good thing here is obviously they're doing Q1 2024 results, which means they can take advantage of the new FASB rules for Bitcoin valuation, right? So if the value of Bitcoin has gone up on that, they can add that to their basically balance sheet or their report as well. So they can take advantage of this right now, just like Cleanspark did as well. That kind of boosted them with their not profit sharing, their earnings per share numbers, right? So we'll see if they can do that as well. But here's what we have on DMG right now. So DMG today announces it will release financial results for its first quarter 2024 ending December 31st, 2023 on Wednesday, February, which is today, obviously, at the market close. I checked maybe about an hour and a half ago on cedar.com website. I still have not seen anything published there yet, so I'm still waiting on that. Maybe they've published it since. If they do, obviously we'll get the numbers for that, and we'll talk about it tomorrow in tomorrow's video. The company will host a conference call tomorrow as well at the close at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. If you want to attend, you can register there. New mining capacity. So there's some good news here for them. DMG plans to energize 54 mining containers, which will house its ordered 4,550 units of new Bitmain T21 miners. It's currently operating S19 XP miners along with some of its less efficient legacy fleet. So it seems like 54 mining containers will house about like 84, 85 miners or so. So that's why they need 54 of them. So they're probably not that big, I'm guessing. So that's kind of interesting there. DMG has received all major electrical distribution components and mining containers, which are now located at either its Christina Lake data center or with its integration partners. The migration of a portion of its existing miners to containers will free up capacity inside DMG's Christina Lake data center building to expand its immersion cooling infrastructure, which is good. And then subsequent to the container deployment, DMG's total electrical capacity will be approximately double its current Christina Lake building capacity of 36 megawatts. So that's also good there. Okay, new data center site. So they are looking at a new site just outside of British Columbia here. Further information will be provided if and when the definitive agreement and regulatory approvals are obtained for this new data center site. So they are looking to grow, which is kind of good there because they're kind of a small miner right now. Right, they're between 1 and 2 exahash in hash rate. So definitely growing into having it and after it is actually good news there. And then immersion cooling technology. So after a long period of engineering development, DMG has ordered its first production environment immersion cooling tanks with the goal to have an initial closed loop setup completed in the June 2024 quarter. So that's great there. And then subsequent to this initial build out, the company will then purchase the remainder of the equipment necessary to energize the first 12 megawatt phase. So that's good. And then in addition, DMG has selected to deployment partner that is located near Christina Lake facility, which it has a long-standing relationship. For the first phase of immersion cooling, the company intends to operate using primary legacy miners to prove out the technology. So I'm guessing they're going to be using some of the older miners that they do have here. And maybe we'll take a look at the numbers that we do have for DMG as far as what they might be. They might try to overclock those, see how those go going forward. And then they also provided the new loan to Bosonic. So again, I got to find out what Bosonic was for them. DMG announces it has provided a total of an additional $600,000 of debt financing to Bosonic to support its continued development and help enable it to sustain cash flow positive operations. So it seems like they're propping the company up right now. I don't know if that's the best way to use the capital there. I don't know what their Bosonic is doing. That's what I'm saying. I have to look into it, what that is. But they are having, they're getting a 7.5% interest rate that is due within 18 months of the loan here. Okay. And then obviously DMG engages Power Mining Analysis Ltd. Power Mining Analysis, you know them as Anthony Power and Bryce McNally, right? So those guys are getting basically paid $3,500 a month for marketing efforts to increase awareness and show how it performs as a Bitcoin miner relative to its peers. Okay, so congrats to those guys getting another miner on board with them, and we'll just leave it at that. Next here, let's take a look at DMG here really quick to talk about that one. I think that might be important here. So DMG, as I said, that they are going to be using some of the older machines that they have here, which if we look at the numbers that we do have here, I'm guessing those are going to be probably the 100 terahash miners here. So they're not that old, but they're still obviously a couple of years old here. And they're going to be trying to prove a concept on those, which is fine, which isn't a big deal. They do have obviously the newer miners here that they got ordered. Those are going to be getting installed as well, so that will help them out. And overall, their efficiency, once those are all installed, they'll be at 2 exahash here of self-mining, and that'll get them down to about 23.91 joules per terahash efficiency-wise. So that's actually pretty good there, right? And then if they can overclock or underclock the other ASICs that they're going to be using immersion cooling in, that might actually bump down their joules per terahash, which might be also good at that point. Okay, so that's kind of interesting to see how that's going to work out for them. But like I said, they're one of the smaller miners that we track here, being at fully installed at 2 exahash, right? Where a lot of the miners that we do cover here are above 5, 6, 7, getting to 10, 20, 30 exahash in basically self-mining at that point. Okay, but that's kind of what we're looking at there. Next here, let's talk about Marathon really quick here. So if anybody has been tracking Marathon over the last couple weeks here, you've probably noticed that their performance hasn't been that great. If you look at their Mara pool information, you guys can look at that up. It's obviously publicly available information. You can see that there were some days that they were mining only 1 or 2 blocks. Other days they were mining 6, 7 blocks. It's just been kind of all over the place here. And this is basically what's going on here. Marathon provided some updates here. So this is from February 15th, so almost a week from today. Operational update, Garden City facility is expected to be offline for 3 days for maintenance work on a nearby transmission switching station. You can learn more about it there. And then they updated on February 19th. We continue to actively resolve the planned maintenance affecting operations in Garden City, as well as continue re-energization at Ellendale. Your understanding is greatly valued as our team and partners work diligently towards a solution. So I was a little surprised that they had both sites having issues there. All right. And then they clarified also on February 19th here to clarify all other sites are still operational. As of this evening, our internal systems show our hash rate to be approximately 17 exahash. But based on the amount of blocks that they were mining, it seems like they were lower than that. So there's obviously some concern there. And then today, it looks like they posted 80% of Ellendale's miners are back online. Total operation hash rate is back up to 28.4. They should be right around 24 exahash, maybe a little bit higher than that. So they're still down from where they should be, but at least they're getting things back online, which is good to see. And then I ran some numbers today. This was about a couple hours ago. For Marathon, they had like, what was it? 464, I think, BTC mined up to that point. And then I also checked like Cleanspark's numbers. They were at like 454. Only 10 BTC difference between the two, where Marathon should be, double where they are right now. So it's a little surprising there. And we'll obviously take a look at the numbers that we do have for them when they finally report their numbers for February in the next week or so. So we'll kind of see what's going on there overall. But overall, I think it's good that they're finally getting proactive with being honest with investors here as far as what's going on, reporting on it, providing tweets and things like that. I think that's a good thing to do, right? Especially since your Mara pool is public to everybody. Everybody can see what's going on. And then when they're quiet about it, it just makes people kind of wonder what's going on there. So I believe this is a really good thing from them to do. And I think they need to do this going forward. Same with all the other miners. If there's a problem, let the investors know right away, right? Especially if you can see the information already. Okay, so that leaves it for Marathon. Let's take a look at the value for the hash rate that each miner is getting right now based on their market cap. And this is based on yesterday's numbers. I didn't update the stock prices, which will obviously affect the not the Bitcoin, but each miner's market cap. So that's basically yesterday's numbers here. And this is it. So what we're looking at here is their market cap. We're dividing it by the petahash they have basically. So this is based on petahash, not exahash. Okay. The way we're looking at it. And then we have the numbers here as far as how do they grade as far as the lowest amount to the highest amount valued here on these numbers here on the left side. And then you get the right side of the charts here. That's what they're valued being for their hash rate right now based on where things stand. Okay. So if we look at it here, Stronghold here, market cap divided by hash rate. This is what we're getting. They're getting valued about 10.3 thousand per petahash. There's obviously the lowest number there, but there's also possibly reasons for it. There might be reasons for some of these guys that are obviously the lowest valued here. And I'm going to try and provide you guys with that information as well. So Stronghold 10.32, right? They have also, you could say operational issues, operational costs that are just way above where they should be for it. And if we look at Stronghold really quick as well, I'll call it and do this on at least on the first one because they're all kind of going together anyways. The charts as far as which one gets placed where. But there are some differences, minor differences, but not major going forward here. So if we look at Stronghold here really quick, you can see Stronghold for the most part, their BTC per exahash has been kind of up and down, hasn't been really growing. It's been actually decreasing here if you look at it over the long period of time. And then if you look at their balance sheet and things like that, debt to equity 1.37, current ratio 0.043 or 0.436. And then you look at their current assets, 12.3 million as of Q3, current liabilities 28.27 million, sorry, on that. And then going down here, if we actually look at their expenses, right? So if you look at fuel, operating expenses, general administrative expenses, if you combine those two, that's 22 million. They only had revenue of 17.7 million. So that's one of the concerns there as well. That's possibly why they are getting valued so low on this. That kind of makes sense to me, right? Why they are being valued low on their hash rate, because there's some real concerns there. Okay. So that's Stronghold, right? Mawson is being valued in 19.35 thousand per petahash. there's also concern with Mawson. So if we look at Mawson here really quick, I'm not going to go through all these, but some of the ones that are on the bottom here to kind of point out why they are valued, why they are. If we look at Mawson here really quick as well, you can see Mawson BTC per exahash has been decreasing. They do have also obviously hosting and things like that, which we're not counting here, which helps them out, and then also selling energy as well, which is not being counted there. But for their self-mining, you can see that the hash rate has been kind of flat overall. Revenue has been kind of all over the place here. December was their best number, and then it came back down. You look at their balance sheet here as well. Debt to equity ratio 1.14. Current ratio 0.29, right? That's not good there. You can see total current assets at 13.6 million, total current liabilities at 46.6. There's one of the reasons, right, that we are looking at. They also have some older machines as well, 90 terahash, 85 terahash miners as well. Those aren't that efficient going into the halving, so those are going to probably have issues if Bitcoin stays where it's at, or if Bitcoin actually goes down to like the 48, 45,000 mark or something like that. That's going to be a pain point for them. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind there. So there's reasons why, like I say, that some of these miners are being valued the way they are. And it's usually about their operation side of things. Sphere 3D, 25.36 thousand per petahash, right? Also pretty low. They also don't have much facilities, or any facilities for that matter. I think they host all their machines. And they're at like 1.4 exahash, something like that right now. They still have a little bit of growth left, not much, but they're also kind of bleeding money here. If we look at Sphere really quick as well, we'll show you. They did get some relief from the CORZ settlement, I believe, about 10 million or so. But looking at this is Sphere, right? Sphere, yep. You can see their production of BTC has been kind of all over the place here. It's coming back down. Their hash rate actually came down here, 1.2. They're moving some machines over, right? So they're 1.3 right now. If you look at their operations side of the thing, total current assets was 5.23. Current liabilities, not too bad, 6.69. So not a bad ratio there, but you can see the debt to equity ratio and the higher current ratio as well on it. They have machines that are also, at least going to be possibly 2 years old or so. 100 terahash miners there, and it's just doesn't seem like there's much growth left in them. The only growth that we do have is they're supposed to get to about 1.8, and they haven't been able to get to that in the last basically. Oh gosh, when have we been tracking these guys? We've been tracking them since it's probably been in 2022 is when we started tracking them. But you can see that it's taking them a long time to get to 1.3 nonetheless on that alone. I think in 2022 they were basically stuck at like 100 petahash for a long time on that one. Okay, so that's a reason why they're going. Next is Core. Core is a different beast here altogether, because Core is valued at 35.3 thousand. I think they should be valued a lot higher. And the only reason they're being valued so low right now is because they just got out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So with Core, we're really looking to see is what will their balance sheets look like, what will their financials look like when they report at least the Q1 and then possibly the Q2. I think that will be a big tell as far as how they are doing after Chapter 11 bankruptcy, right? And I think that's one of the concerns that a lot of people have is they were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they got out of it, but a lot of people got burned by it, and then also a lot of people don't want to invest in companies that were in Chapter 11 bankruptcy and emerged out of it, right? So there's that reason for it as well. But if you look at Core here, they are way undervalued compared to their peers. But like I said, we need to see what their numbers look like based on the current data that we do have here for them. And you can see that they're mining 1,000, plus BTC per month here. So they're probably second to Marathon right now. Right? Marathon's valued at almost 4 point some billion, almost 5 billion or something like that. They're valued only at 656 million right now. So that's where we're seeing the disparity here for Core, which obviously, like I said, is because of bankruptcy. And then, like I said, also with the numbers, we want to see better numbers, because right now we have debt to equity ratios that are negative, current ratios that are still pretty low there. And then finally, we got some numbers for them for Q3, which looked a little bit better here as far as total current assets, 134, and then obviously the Q3 debt. But I think the debt has gotten wiped out. So we need to see all that information as well. And they have also been increasing their hash rate, which is nice to see. They're at 18.6 now in January of 2024. They were kind of down a little bit here in the 2023, but then it started going back up towards the end of the year, which is nice to see as well. And the revenue has been pretty good as well. 15 million here in December, January 44 million. That's actually pretty good, right? If you look at Marathon's revenue here compared to that, their revenue here in January was, where was the revenue? 42 million, right? So they were pretty close to Marathon, actually beat Marathon as far as revenue-wise for self-mining by about 2 million here, right? So that's kind of the way I'm seeing it right now on that one. But I think it will take some time for them to gain confidence in investors again, and possibly institutions and things like that. Okay, and then you got Digihost at 41.57, also one of the smaller miners, so that kind of makes sense there. DMG, also a smaller miner at 67,000, so they're getting better valued at than Digihost. And I think because DMG has better balance sheet than Digihost here, if we look at those two here really quick, Digihost on their balance sheet side of things, yeah. See, total current assets 3.36 million, total current liabilities 5.61. So there's the issue there. If we look at DMG, much better, healthier balance sheet than Digihost. So that kind of makes sense why they are being valued the way they are comparatively, because they're about the same size. Maybe DMG is a little bit small, a little bit larger, but not much. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, so that's DMG. Argo 48. I think they're kind of high on that because they aren't really growing. They've taken out loans to basically stay afloat here for the time being, and their machines are all, for the most part, not all, are being hosted by Galaxy Digital, and really no growth plans for them going forward. So I would expect them to be a little bit lower, but I think maybe people are thinking that somebody will buy them out. But I don't think that's going to happen, because the only assets that they really have is the machines. And I mean, yeah, people might want to buy the machines out, but you're still hosting them with them, and it's just, the machines aren't the greatest. So I don't know if there's any value in that one. Hive at 97, I think that's pretty well valued right now per petahash. TeraWolf at 79.5, probably needs to be up a little bit higher from where they are compared to Hive. But Hive also has a HODL position. TeraWolf does not. Cypher 142, that's pretty good here. Hut 8, 116,000 per petahash right now. That's pretty good for them. I think that's a little high for them as well. They're supposed to be at about 7.2, 7.3 exahash, so maybe that's okay. Iris 125,000, that's pretty good. BitDigital 130,000. BitD 119. Bitfarms 171. Riot is being valued the most here, 267,000 per petahash right now, based on the market cap. And then Cleanspark would be in second spot with 234. And I think Cleanspark just possibly overtook Marathon when it comes to hash rate and maybe market cap numbers as well. So let's see, where's Riot? Riot right now is 3.3 billion as of yesterday. And their hash rate was, where's their hash rate? 12.4. And I believe Cleanspark has just gotten to 4 exahash this month here. If I have this updated here, I don't. So January, we're still at January numbers here. So they're going to be at 14 exahash. They're going to be larger than Riot actually. And their market cap here as of yesterday was 3.2. So they're pretty close to each other right now as far as market cap. 3.2, 3.3. So yesterday, Riot was actually higher than market cap a little bit on that one. Okay. But those guys, obviously, what investors I think are looking at is future growth, right? Good balance sheet, healthy balance sheet, operational uptime, all those things. And you can see here, obviously, Marathon's getting less, 221,000 per petahash, and that could be because of the uptime, the efficiencies, and things like that. That might be bringing it down a little bit here compared to like Cleanspark and Riot. I'm surprised that they are that high right now. Riot, I think, should be lower than Cleanspark based on where things are right now. But that's kind of my take on it. Okay. Now, if we take a look at MCAP minus divided by future hash rate, so this is kind of where they're going to be in the next, or actually not in the next, but what they have actually purchased to get to like Marathon to 30 exahash, Cleanspark to 32, Riot to 38 exahash. How are they being valued based on that? Okay. Based on this, we can see here that obviously Stronghold, Mawson, Sphere 3D, Core are pretty low. Core, like I said, I think they should be much higher. Digihost, and you got DMG pretty much in the same spots right now. And then we got Argo, Hive, TeraWolf, Cypher, Hut also being pretty highly valued here right now based on future hash rate. Iris kind of low there on this side of things. BitDigital kind of high. BitD kind of high as well. And then you got Cleanspark at 100,000, where Marathon's being valued at 179,000 on it. So definitely being overvalued there compared to everybody else. Same thing with Hut 8, I think, here as well. Okay, going down here, market cap minus HODL. So now we're taking out the HODL position to see where everybody is kind of valued at that point. And you can see the same, pretty much the same ones here in the bottom here, right? They're lowest valued here based on that, which would tell people, some people might think that they're way undervalued, but there's reasons why they're undervalued for it. And we talked about those in the past couple of minutes here. But looking at the numbers here, we can see Bitfarms at 165,000 if you take out their HODL position here right now. And this is for their current hash rate. Riot, 237,000, Cleanspark, 220, and Marathon, 190,000. So you can see where Marathon was before, 221. And then Cleanspark was 222 or 234, now they're 222. And then Riot was 267, 237. So when you take out the value of the HODL, that's how you get that valuation on it. So it's basically their own hash rate, doesn't include HODL at that point. And then when you take market cap minus HODL, future hash rate, you still get Marathon coming in, the most overvalued here, it looks like. Based on this, the Cleanspark at 95,000, only Riot at 76. So this looks much better there on that. This one here, you got Bitfarms at 89,000, BitDeer at 103. That seems kind of high there for them as well. But you can kind of see how everything stacks up along these guys here. And then if we look at all the numbers, I track it all by all these, give them a score of 1 to 18 based on how they positioned on like the M1 metrics, M2, M3, M4 metrics. And then we get a total score here. And this is how everything played out. So Stronghold, Mawson, Sphere 3D, obviously they have issues, right? So that's why they're being undervalued based on their market cap to petahash. Core, I think, should be much higher valued. But like I said before, they're out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That's the reason why. Digihost and DMG are kind of close together, so that kind of makes sense. Argo, I think Argo should be much lower in value than what they are getting right now. Hive, it's probably okay. TeraWolf, it's fine here. Cypher, same thing. Hut 8, I think Hut 8 should be probably lower. We don't know how they're going to be growing their hash rate going forward, or are they going to be even replacing their older miners that they have? So there's a lot of questions here with them. They also got downgraded by, who was it, H.C. Wainwright in the last couple of days to a sell and a price target of $5, I think, for them. So we'll see how that impacts the stock. Iris at 47 seems pretty good. BitDigital as well. BitDeer, fine with me. Bitfarms, that's good. Riot, Cleanspark, and obviously Marathon here are looking to be the most overvalued based on what they're getting for the petahash. But there's reasons for it, right? They're growing. They have huge, some of them have huge HODL like Marathon and Riot. Cleanspark is building its HODL position. And you also have obviously good growth. And then some of these are performing better as far as uptime, like Cleanspark is, Bitfarms. So I would think that those may eventually maybe eclipse like Marathon and Riot when those numbers come out for maybe next month, but we'll see. All right, that's kind of the way I would look at it, but we'll see how things go. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that, understood that, and get your questions ready because we'll get into questions now going forward. So I'm going to get into my Q&A here really quick, and we'll get through some of you guys' questions here. And I got to take a sip of water here because my throat is starting to get dry here. We've been talking quite a bit. Okay, where's my other thing? Here we go. All right. So let's start with some questions here. Okay, first question that I have here is, what do you think of Gryphon Digital Mining? They just went public, I believe, on, was it the NASDAQ? Or I think they went just public on the NASDAQ. I think they were on the New York Stock Exchange, but they got kicked out for some reason. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But basically, they're also using some older machines, which is surprising. I think they have some S9s. No, not Gryphon. That wasn't Gryphon. That was, geez, I'm getting them mixed up with Grid, I think. There's too many miners out there. Forgive me on that one. Grid, I think Grid is the one that has the older miners, right? I would stay away from that one because I just don't know how they're going to be profitable going forward on that one. Let's see here. Question, what miners are you looking to DCA? I still like the ones that I have. Cleanspark, if it goes down even more, I'll probably dollar cost averaging that one. Bitfarms as well. Iris Energy is one that I started getting into in the past couple months here. I got in at like $3 and something cents. I only have a couple hundred shares of that one. I wanted to get more, but then its price ran up pretty high, so I kind of I didn't pull the trigger. I held off a little bit before buying more on that one. And let's see if we have any other questions here. If we don't have any questions, we'll call it a day. Recommending, okay, here's a good question. Recommend buying Hive and IREN here. Based on where they are, I like IREN more than Hive. Hive has stated that they want to maintain their 1% of market or 1% of network share, meaning that they want to stay at the 1% going forward. So they're not really trying to get to like the top 5 or the top 10, even as far as miners are for hash rate. So that's the reason I had Hive for a long time. I sold them a couple months back and put the money into other miners at that point. And I think IREN might be a better bet going forward. They're getting into AI also, and they're growing their hash rate, which is the thing that I'm looking for. Plus, their uptime is pretty good. It's really good, actually. Okay, let's see here. Let's see here. There you go. Recently, Riot was overtaken by Cleanspark in price. Will that continue? Or per share? It's not really per share. Well, maybe per share too, but what's really important is market cap. And they may battle it out throughout the remainder of the year. Both are having pretty good growth plans, right? Riot is finishing out their facility. I think it's CORZ facility, which they're going to have 1 gigawatts there potentially. They're supposed to get the first 100 megawatts up and running. So they're going to be kind of going back and forth maybe as far as hash rate wars. But we'll have to see how Riot performs as far as uptime at that facility. Because right now in Rockdale, where they're located, that facility just doesn't seem to have great uptime for whatever reason. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. So NVIDIA earnings obviously had great earnings today. Will that help the miners, or would it be a moot point? Yeah, I don't know how that's going to compare to the miners. The miners obviously have been buying NVIDIA chips and the, what are those, the H100s or the N100s for the AI chips. The servers are building those, so that's obviously helped NVIDIA out, but I don't know how that's going to help out the miners here. We'll have to see. Let's see it. When Sebastian planning to exit Cleanspark Bitfarms? Not for at least another 12 to 18 months, but we'll see where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin starts pumping really hard here in the first half or the second half of the year. Getting to 100,000, maybe 150,000. We'll see where it goes. At that point, I may start to look into kind of dollar cost average out. Because I learned my lesson last time. I held Hive through 2021 peak. Everybody was saying Bitcoin's going to 100,000. Well, it only got to 69,000. I was holding and thinking that we might bounce again. We had a double top pretty much in Bitcoin in 2021. I was thinking we may get a third top, but never happened. So I learned my lesson there. We'll be definitely dollar cost averaging out as things go on. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see here. What do you think about Cleanspark taking HODL value increase as part of cost of revenue decreased? Cost of revenue decreased because they actually didn't put in a bunch of crap into it like they did for the fiscal year end in September. Right, so they put in a bunch of bonuses, things like that, that obviously impacted the cost of mining. So that decreased that. HODL also increasing also helps, and obviously helped them with the new FASB rules as well. And I think, like I said, DMG reporting today, hopefully we'll get the numbers sometime tonight or tomorrow. They're going to be able to take advantage of those new FASB rules as well. That should help them out. We'll see if they get a positive EPS out of that as well. Let's see. Question, at what price are you looking to add more Bitfarms? I would add right now if I could. Unfortunately, I'm out of cash. So I'm holding cash right now because I need to pay, well, one, I need to pay property taxes coming up here, but I also need to pay income taxes, and I'm not looking forward to it. So I don't know what that's going to be. So I'm kind of on the sidelines right now, but I wish I could buy more right now. Let's see here. Now that we have the ETFs, do you think the price of miners will go parabolic in this cycle? I mean, they went parabolic last cycle as well when we didn't have the ETFs. So I think the ETFs will help potentially Bitcoin get higher. But how much higher, we don't know yet. If we look at gold comparison, gold, after the ETFs came in, they had like a, 4, 5, 6 year, basically a bull run in gold at that time. Will that happen with Bitcoin this time around? I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see what happens there. It's definitely going to be challenging. Okay, question here. I happen to have invested only in 4 overvalued mining companies based on your analysis. Would you recommend rebalancing? Overvalued how? Are they overvalued based on their exahash or petahash per market cap, other things like that? I mean, that all depends, right? But I would never tell you what to do. You guys have to do your own research and do your own investing as far as what you want to get into. But I only provide you guys with the numbers that I can, tell you what I'm doing, and it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do. Let's see here. DGHI seems like a safe way to play along with Cleanspark. You agree? Yeah. I have DGHI in my 401k profit sharing plan. I've had that since last year, the beginning of January, when the plan administrators allowed us to have ETFs. So that was a good timing on that, because as you know, at that point, the miners and Bitcoin were basically bottoming out at the end of December, early January, and I just plowed everything that I could into it, as much as I could into that ETF, and it has done really well. It's obviously been choppy, it's been up and down, but overall, I'm still up over 100, I think 50% on it. So I'm gonna continue to hold that one as long as I can, probably through the next 12, 16 months or 18 months, until we start maybe getting a little frothy and a little high on Bitcoin price at that time. But Cleanspark, I still think has definitely a good future going forward, as long as they continue to execute on their growth plan, which, based on their track record, I expect them to do, right? So they only missed the 16 exahash this year, where they were supposed to get to it by the end of the year of 2023. They were delayed by about a month and a half or so to getting that. So that's still not bad, right? We've had other miners that say they're going to get to X, and they're delayed by several months to a year. So Cleanspark has been doing really well. Let's see here. Do you think IREN strategy without HODL will be a bad after the halving? It won't be bad for them, because they still have a pretty good balance sheet. They got cash, right? They diluted quite a bit, so they have cash, so they're going to be fine. They're going to have plenty of runway, unless Bitcoin stays at 45,000 for 10 months. I think then everybody will have problems at that point. Not everybody, but the ones that have not as strong balance sheets. So I don't think that's a problem. The only problem is obviously with them not hodling. They're not able to take advantage of the appreciation of Bitcoin price going up into the bull run. So I think that's kind of, I don't agree with them on that, right? I think there's a time to hodl, and I think there's a time to sell the hodl as well. And I think right now is the time to hodl as much as you can, obviously without having to dilute your shareholders or dilute as little as possible your shareholders at this point. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Question. What's your thought on Wolf? Wolf, I think, is doing better now that they paid off the 40 million that was due by April 1st. So that should help them out. And then we'll have to see how they restructure the rest of the 100 million that's due by the end of the year. If they can do that, I think that will definitely help them out in the long run. They need to restructure for like maybe 3 or 5 years terms or something like that. And then maybe pay it off with Bitcoin going up, to new highs. They're going to be generating a lot more. So that should help them out, get that debt resolved. I think that's the only thing that's really holding them back is the debt. That, and they don't hodl anything. But they've been using all the BTC mine from their self-mining and the joint venture mining as well to pay down the debt as much as they can here. Let's see. QQQ cycle high for Riot. I mean, I have no idea. Riot could be above $50, $60, $70. It all depends where Bitcoin goes right now. And then can you tell us a little bit about Rivian Automotive? Looks like a good entry point. I do have Rivian. I still have 100 shares of it. I had a heck of a lot more. I had almost 1,000 shares at one point of them. And then I kind of looked at the landscape and looked at the timing for it. And Rivian to me was a much longer play than what we had in front of me with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So I wanted to take advantage of the short play that we have with miners with the next basically 12 to 18 months or so. And then maybe I'll start getting back into Rivian a little bit more, because I think with their second generation platform coming out potentially in the next, 2 years maybe or so, the factory in Georgia is supposed to be up and running by then, I think, as well. That's going to give them that boost that I think they need at that point. I think maybe the stock will start to go back up and we might get much better traction going forward, but that's still a long ways out. Let's see here. Okay, so I don't use margin. Have you thought about digging into margin to add more position? How do you value the risk reward for using margin? I don't use margin. I don't want to be margin called on any of these things. So, because we know they're so volatile, right? They could go up 30, 50% in a week. They could also go down 50, 60, 70% in a week. So I don't use margin on it. I just dollar cost average in and buy and hold until I think it's going to be a good time to get out. Let's see here. Okay, this is kind of a long question here. You have always said that 1/3 of BTC gains is pre-halving and 2/3 is post-halving. Is that percentage-wise or dollar-wise? So BTC 15K to 60K is 300% gains. So would 600 gains 15 times, I missed out. Let me see. 15K times 600% equals 90K, thus 150K. yeah, I mean, usually we have, if we go back to last cycle, we had the Bitcoin only went up pre-having a year before, like 20%. Miners actually were down at that point. This time around, we're not seeing that. Miners are actually up. If you look year to date, some of them are up 300, 400, 500, 600%. Bitcoin's up 150 some percent. So we're having a different cycle this time around. And I think it's driven by the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So anything's on the table right now as far as where we could go and where we could end up at. But we'll have to see on that one. Okay, do you think we will see lower prices before April? Based on what Matt on Twitter posted, and I don't have his Twitter handle right now, but Matt's posted 2016. If you look at that numbers and you look at where we are right now as far as the monthly gains on Bitcoin, it does look pretty similar. So at that point in 2016, we actually had a couple months where we came down in price quite a bit into the halving and after the halving, and then finally we started going back up. So we'll see if that also plays out this time around. But like I said, with the spot Bitcoin ETF, it's tough to tell. Any concerns of pending lawsuits on HUT? Depending which ones, I think they got the Validus one figured out. What other lawsuits are there? Is that the one that they were saying the class action lawsuit on the management, the board, and things like that? We'll have to see where that one goes. I don't know if there's any other ones that I'm aware of. If you know any, hit me up in the comments down below. Let's see here. What do you think about throwing a small bet on CORZ just in case? I mean, a lot of people do that where they will put maybe 0.5%, 1% of their portfolio into something that's a high risk, high reward. That's up to you, right? I mean, if you feel like you're comfortable doing that and you can take the risk, like I said, it's completely up to you. But I know some people do that. Okay, why Rivian and not Tesla? Tesla, I think, has been beaten down quite a bit too now. So Tesla has been expensive, right? So when I started investing, I would not have been able to buy that many shares. Rivian was much lower in price at that point. And then also with Tesla coming down in price quite a bit, like I said here just recently within the last year or so, it might be a tempting opportunity as well because they have a lot going on. The AI stuff with autonomous driving, the robots, they just have a lot of stuff going on. So that stuff is definitely going to be something interesting that I will be looking into as well once I get out of these miners here at the end of this bull cycle, if we have an end to it. Who knows? Let's see. Has CORZ got their balance sheet in order, looking to sell HUT and buy CORZ? That's one of the things that we want to look at is obviously how is their balance sheet progressing here after getting out Chapter 11 bankruptcy, right? We want to see Q1 and probably Q2 numbers from them to see how they are doing as far as what their cash flow is, how are they paying everything. And at that point, we'll kind of see what's going on there. What's new with Riot lawsuits? Don't know. Haven't been following that much. They haven't really posted anything. We'll see what they report in their Q4 numbers or fiscal year end numbers. We'll see what they provide any information there. And let's see if there are any other questions. Looks like we're out of questions. So we'll call it a day, I think. Here we've been obviously over 10 minutes here on questions anyways. So we'll call it a day, guys. And as always, like I said before, Patreons get access to my spreadsheets as always. That's still $8. There might be some spots available for $5 and $4 as well. If you guys want to get access to all the spreadsheets I do, I mean, you guys see everything that I provide here for you guys anyways. But that, and you also have access to the Discord channel as well, which is our private one there. And that's my only sell to you guys. That's it. Yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll talk about DMG if they report. We'll talk about some other things as well. And then we'll see what happens here. And we got here, let's see here. At this price, which one would you choose, Bitfarms or Mara? Oh, good question. I think Bitfarms is way more undervalued than Marathon right now is, based on what their hash rate is, where they're going to be getting the hash rate to, and their just operations are great. So I would say probably Bitfarms. I think that one might have a little bit more upside. But Marathon, like last cycle, has was up like 7,000%. So you can't discount Marathon there as well on it. Okay. All right, we'll call it a day, guys. Next live stream is going to be on Saturday. So that should be around, like, I'm guessing around noon sometime. I'll do that probably. And then I'm also doing a live stream, or not a live stream, live Twitter space with the Bitcoin mining stock guy on Sunday at 12 p.m. So that'll be fun. We'll probably have talk about all the stuff here, marathon, everything else is going on there. So join us if you can. That should be fun. We always go like for 2-3 hours. We have people come on all the time from the audience, and then also some people from the mining space as well, the miners. So that's always fun there. And we'll call it a day. Okay. So again, thank you so much for coming in. I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to spend the time with me here on this Wednesday evening. And we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. But otherwise, I wish you guys a great night, a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.